Hi everyone, and welcome to QuantumAcacias. My name is Dee Dee, and today we're going to be doing adventures in the Astrals. So I'm actually recording this today on June 20th. Tomorrow is summer solstice. I'm not sure when I'm posting this video. Excuse me, but I like to just say the date in case it does resonate. Because some of these things, with the dates and stuff, they tend to be really significant. So I'm actually doing this on the 20th. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to take me a nice little nap, and then and then I'm going to work on the new moon in Cancer pick a card reading. So make sure you check out those videos when you hear this message. This morning has been really interesting. I feel like Gemini season in general has been very interesting. And what's even more interesting is that I woke up like 3 days ago, so like the 8th, 17th, 18th, and I felt like it was still Taurus season. So I don't know if there's something going on with Venus right now, but it feels like Taurus season, even though it's Gemini season. We're about to go into Cancer season. So that could be significant. But this morning I woke up and I forgot what Ray and I were talking about, but we started talking about the Space Hotel in 2026. Now, last I heard, and I don't even remember where I got this from, but I was pretty sure there's supposed to be something going on with the Space Hotel January 2026. I don't know if it's open for business, but something's supposed to be going on January 2026. So we're trying to go on YouTube to see about it because I dreamed about being in the Space Hotel earlier this year. And it's kind of crazy that February was 4 months ago. But yeah, almost 4 months ago to the day, almost. I dreamed about being in the Space Hotel. And so we were talking about that, and we're going to find videos about it on YouTube, and there's all type of interesting stuff that doesn't look like a whole lot of official information. So I'm like, what's going on with the Space Hotel? Unless they're saying space theme hotels, but I don't know. So anyways, I thought it'd be fun to talk about the Space Hotel dream and what I saw, and then also the other things that connected to it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And there were quite a few things that were coming up, so it's going to seem like I'm kind of jumping around, but they are relevant. And then we'll get into Orpheum condos, which I'm not sure if I've mentioned those before, but it's all connected. So I wanted to say that I did start this at 12:13, which 12:12, 12:13 are very significant timestamps for me in general. So if you see 12:12, 12:13, it could be relevant. Now, the interesting thing is that maybe there were some dreams that I had last night that connected to this. Look, the Princess of All Saiyans. Interesting. Hold on, that's really interesting. Hold on. Because I love when the algorithm, not maybe the algorithm, but I love when the life just starts showing you stuff and it's super in sync. Okay, Princess of All Saints, that's somebody's name on Instagram, and I just saw this thing flash with that name. And the interesting thing is that I was doing a pendulum reading yesterday, so I've been really consistent with my pendulum. That's a whole nother story for another day. But I've been really, really consistent with my pendulum, and I've also been having a very consistent energy show up as well that I'm calling Zane right now. And that's what he says that his name is Zane. And that's a whole nother story. But anyways, the other day we were talking about, he put these names, Vegeta and Bula. And it was Bula first. I'm like, Bula, okay. And it was Bula and Vegeta. And I was like, oh, I've heard this Vegeta with this Dragon Ball. Is it, I don't know, Dragon Ball I don't know if Dragon Ball Z is like a different situation. I don't really know. I didn't watch the show yet. I watched like the first episode, and I've been meaning to watch that and Sailor Moon. And now there's this other series that I want to watch called One Piece, because we were watching this tribe, like this indigenous Afro-Asiatic tribe in Thailand. And this guy was talking about One Piece that talks about this indigenous dark-skinned tribe in I think in Thailand, and they don't know who they are, they don't know their name, they've got a secret name, and he was saying like you should really watch it. And I'm not sure if that's what inspired him to find this tribe and talk to them, I'm not sure, but he was also talking about the connection of a character in there called Joy Boy. I think it was Joy Boy. And he was talking about how that's also connected into Haiti, which he was Haitian. And so anyways, I'm kind of going all over the place. But anyways, we're talking about Bula and Vegeta, and how Bula is the daughter of Vegeta. So she is like a princess of the Saiyans. So that is very, very interesting. And it's 12/21, winter solstice. Okay, so summer solstice is also a great time to start preparing for winter solstice as well. Okay, so let's get into this, because the signs and wonders are going to keep on coming, y'all. And we want them to, but I also want to get into this particular day. So I actually had this dream about the Space Hotel on February 24th, 2025. Now, for me personally, and like I said in another video, since January 2025, things have like stepped up a notch. Like, as far as, I don't even know what to call it right now. So probably at a later date, when I figure out what's going on, I'll probably speak about it. But right now, like, I'm still, kind of in the midst of it and figuring out what's going on. But the best way I can explain it is that I have been having such a more, I like to say visceral, but I'm not sure if that's exactly the word, but such a more tangible physical experience with like spiritual energies since January. It's been very interesting. And then since I do write down my dreams and I have like records of different days and stuff, I realized that before January, there were like obvious things that, since I hadn't been experiencing them to that level, I didn't know where it was going to go. But like really probably since August of last year, really revving up in November, there's like this accumulation to something happening in January, and then like it's still kind of ongoing. I also think that this has to do with plasmatic energy. And when I think about it, I think about, we consider like science on a main scale right now. And there are probably people that have thought about this, I'm sure. But on a main scale right now, like the scientists, they believe that things that are living have carbon. And they have not, I guess, really explored that there could be living conscious beings that are out of our spectrum that are just not carbon based. Maybe they're nitrogen based. Maybe they're, argon based. Argon has been coming up a lot. And from what I understand, it's very choosy with what it reacts with. They call it the lazy ion, which I think is interesting. So I'm like, is it lazy or is it just choosy? Oh gosh, like 98% of our genome is junk DNA because it doesn't synthesize protein. And like, that means you just don't know what it does. And obviously synthesizing protein is probably really small on the list of probably what it's actually doing. That's probably more accurate, but whatever. Anyways, let's get into this thing, okay? So on January 24th, I wake up, and that's mostly what I'm doing in a lot of my dreams. How they start is like, I don't know if it's like me sinking into a parallel version of myself, or I'm sinking into the astral body and I'm having to kind of remember what's going on around me. I'm not exactly sure. But I like kind of gain consciousness, and I am laying in my birthday suit on this mat on this floor, okay? So I'm getting up and I'm like adjusting. And I'm like, why am I on this mat on this floor? And I'm like, where in the world am I? Number one, like, where even is this like mat at? And why am I on the floor? Because, of course, I don't typically sleep on the ground. I sleep in a bed. So I'm like, what is going on here? Okay, let me see if I can pull this up to make sure we don't miss anything. Okay, perfect. I don't want to miss anything. Okay. So I'm on the floor and I'm in the bed, child. I'm on the floor and I'm on a mat, okay? And I'm getting up. And I'm like, okay, where are my clothes at? Number 2. So I get up and honestly, I feel like there was somebody that was talking to me while I was sleeping in this dream. That was like the feeling that I had, was like I woke up, and even though like my consciousness here was sinking in with this version of me, it felt like as I was waking up, 1226, that's my birthday numbers. It felt like, oh yeah, my July pick a card reading just came out. Period. Okay, make sure you check out that July pick a card reading. It was super, super good. Also, I just did the pick a card reading for summer solstice. Did I talk about that? For summer solstice, and it's really, some of it is really intense, but I feel like it's bringing in some really, really eye-opening energy. So make sure you check that out as well. Okay. So anyways, it felt like someone was talking to me, and then I woke up, and then this aspect of me sunk into consciousness as I was waking up. It was actually really trippy now that I think about it. But it felt like someone was talking to me, and it felt like, I don't know if I was arguing with them. It kind of felt like I was arguing with them. And it was weird because before I went to sleep, I kept getting this sensation of like somebody touching my arm or my leg. And it was like there was these like kind of subtle vibrations in the air. So with this kind of uptick of spirit activity or whatever, I've been seeing this really intense like electric blue energy. And it's like electric blue. If I feel like children's museums are pretty common around the States, but if you go to like the children museums and they have like those electricity bulbs, and wherever you touch it, the electricity goes to your finger, it's just like that. And it's an orb kind of, but it's more like a shaker ball in like a protein cup, like those shaker cups that you mix your protein with, the little shaker ball in there, the little metal one. It kind of is in the shape of that. And instead of the metal spiral, it's like this electric blue energy spiral. Okay. So that's what I was seeing before I went to sleep. So anyways, so I felt like I was arguing with someone, Charles. Okay. And I think he actually did show up in the room as well, and he had on like a wife beater, which is, I always thought it was weird that they called it that, like those white wife beaters. Hopefully I wasn't getting beat up, child, because why was he wearing a wife beater and these gym pants? Okay, so I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And we were talking about something, and yeah, we were like arguing with each other. And I couldn't remember exactly what we were arguing about. And he was also trying to show me something about the importance of me tattooing a tree onto my back. Now, the interesting thing is that I already have, in a way, a tree already tattooed on my back, on my spine, honestly. And it's a cherry blossom tree, a Japanese cherry blossom. It's not like the full tree, but it is a Japanese word that is survivor, and it has cherry blossoms around it. But he was trying to get me to like tattoo a different tree on my back, which there's something about trees in the back and your spine and stuff like that, but also just like something energetically with trees in your back. Because I've also had a sycamore tree stuck in my spine before in a vision that turned into a dream. And I think someone placed a sycamore tree there. That's a whole nother story. So anyways, so we're arguing. I'm like, I'm not going to tattoo this tree on my back, blah, 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 blah. And then like I run into the bathroom. Now, as I'm running into the bathroom, I get the realization that like I'm in the space hotel. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not about to let this person ruin the space hotel for me. So I get in the bathroom and I have to use the bathroom, right? And you know how they always say like, don't use the bathroom in a dream because then you'll actually urinate on yourself. And it was kind of interesting because there was parts of my consciousness that remembered this from some other space and time. Like I couldn't remember where I'd heard that before. So it's almost like I was trying to gain lucidity, and I was very conscious of using the bathroom because the toilet was very real, obviously. It was dark in the bathroom. I didn't turn on the light. And there was like this kind of neon purple and blue glowing light in the bathroom. So it was very futuristic, very cutesy. And I remember like sitting on the toilet and I was kind of leaning on the counter because this room was very small. It was very nice, but it was very small and compact. And so was the bathroom. So the shower was right there. It was kind of a tight space, but it worked. And then even the room was in a pyramid shape, which we'll get into the decor in the main room in a second. But I was leaning on the counter using the bathroom, and I was kind of thinking like I'm not going to let this person ruin this experience for me. And how is he even in here? Like, I was like, are we sharing a room? Like, how is he even in here? And why is he arguing with me about tattooing this tree on my back? Blah, 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 blah. And so anyway, so I got up from the bathroom and I was like, oh, it worked. And it was almost like the suction of like an airplane bathroom. You know, like when you press the thing for the airplane bathroom and it like just sucks it somewhere else. That's what this was like. So it very much reminded me of an airplane, child. Airplane. Have I been saying airport or airplane? An airplane bathroom. How it's really tight and then like the sound is really loud. It was just like that. And I think it also had like the little button that you press. And I think that is also in the airport bathrooms, but also in the airplane where, they actually have like the, thing that you can sit on and you press it and they give you a new one, the little plastic. So everybody's not sitting on the same toilet, to keep it more sanitary. They did have that as well. So then I go outside of the bathroom and I think that this guy was gone. So I don't know, he was just gone or whatever. And so I got to really enjoy the room by myself. And so it was this nice pyramid shape. So it was a nice queen size bed in the center of this room. But I would lightly call it a room because it was barely enough room to really move around, honestly. So the bed was against the like base part of the triangle, the widest part. And then in front was the TV, very cute, small little TV. And it had pyramid triangle designs, like geometric shape designs. And they were pink and purple in the room. So the bathroom was like pink and blue. And then the main room was mainly purple, but there was like pinkish hues to the lights as well. And then, like I said, on the right was a mat for whatever. It was almost like a kindergarten mat, child. A kindergarten mat. And that was on the ground for whatever reason. And then there was these two little floating shelves where you could like put, hang up clothes and stuff like that. And let me see, was there anything else in the room? I think it was like just that simple. And then I had my suitcase on the other side. Pyramid colors. Yeah, electric. Yeah, RV style or airplane bathroom. Yeah, and then the TV was at the center of the apex. Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. So that was pretty much everything in there. So there wasn't like the, suite kind of setup where some places have, the counter and all of that. It didn't have any of that. It wasn't enough room to put that in there. It was mainly TV, bed, and the bathroom. But like I said, it was very clean. It was very nice. It was simple, but it was nicely decorated. And it felt like I was on there for like the weekend. Okay. So the interesting thing is that after that, what ended up happening was that I ended up switching to a sequence where I was actually telling someone about what the rooms look like. Okay. So it was almost like I was shifted into the void, and someone was like trying to gather information about the future, like what this hotel was going to look like in the future. And so I was explaining to them what I was seeing, which I thought was very interesting. So then my youngest child was sleeping next to me. He ended up waking up and he was crying, so I was like coddling him and getting him to go back to sleep. And then the song from Beyonce, EXO, then I'm like EXO in the darkest night out, I surge through the crowd. That song. I know that's not the melody or anything, but you get the drift though. Okay, you get the drift though. I was singing that in my head, and I love to pay attention to the songs that come into my head because they usually always have some type of reference. Now, I don't know exactly what that reference was, but I'm sure I'll probably figure it out at some point. But that song was playing in my head so much. And it kind of reminded me of the neon lights because it kind of reminded me of like, parties in the woods or something. And like those kind of like party in the wood festival kind of situations, and they wear like those neon wristbands and headbands, and they're like going through the woods and stuff like that. That's kind of what it reminded me of in a sense. So then when I went back to sleep, I ended up with, now I'm not sure if this one is more like personal, but maybe I'll just mention it really briefly because it could have to do with Anubis or Anubis like energies. So after that, I went back to sleep and I ended up in one of my family members' homes. Okay. Now, this family member was at work, and it was like I went in there and I was wearing, sometimes I see myself in the Astrals and I'm wearing like this white mink faux fur, faux mink coat. I don't wear real mink, okay, because I don't want to actually wear their hides. Like if I were around minks, I would be like taking care of them and feeding them and helping them grow and thrive, not using their coats. Do you know what I'm saying? But I guess it has something to do with like some type of status or something. Child, I don't know, because I don't wear those type. I can't afford to wear those type of things right now. But even if I did, like I guess it has something to do with like a status symbol or something. It was like it's always white, and I always have these like boots on and stuff and sunglasses. Like I mean, like complete Hollywood. Okay. And so I was walking in there with my son, and I noticed that there was like this old balcony. Now, this family member does have a balcony, but it's not this type of balcony. So this balcony was kind of like the balcony that you see like on a mansion. And, they have like the little tiny personal balconies on like the second or third floor. I don't even know what those are called, but maybe it's relevant. So it's like a personal room balcony, like a bedroom balcony. And it's usually like really small and cute. Like it's not enough space for you to have a chair or anything, but you can at least go stand out there. And anyways, there was a King Corso dog out there, like a black dog. Now, typically when they show Anubis and even Wapawets, they have more of the, what are those dogs called? Those dogs they typically show as like the underworld dogs, like in Bones, that old Snoop Dogg movie. I forgot what they're called, but they typically show like a different type of black dog, but this one was like the King Corso, which when I was younger, one of my family members used to have Italian bull mastiffs. Oh my gosh, biggest, sweetest dogs. Oh my goodness, like my favorite. And it's actually really funny because one of the dogs we had, his name was Deuce. And I think they actually named him after this New Orleans football player, Deuce McAllister. And fun fact, I was also named after this football player's sister, which if you go into the name Deuce, which is two, but it's also, the D is also the T and the H, but also like the T, but also the D's, but also the Z. Okay, so Deuce, Theus, and Zeus are all related to each other. So it's a little fun fact. So anyways, it kind of went all around the world, but I was like saving this dog because he was like stuck out there without food. I don't know how he got out there on this personal balcony. And so I had to like bring him inside, and I was like, come on inside, get from out of there. It seemed like he was being busy and he got stuck. So I had to bring him inside and then feed him and make sure he was okay. And then I left after that. So I guess that's like the reason that I went over there, was like to go make sure that this dog was okay. And I'm going to get back to why I think it was connected to Anubis in a little bit. So then the next sequence, which is where I'm going to explain this Anubis connection, was actually I was in this condo. Okay, now this is so cool, and this is something that I really love about the dream world and the astrals. So I was in this condo, and I remembered this condo from another dream. Okay, and I was like, oh, I remember this condo. I remember this condo from another dream, and in the other dream, which was like the 22nd, so I think it was like, no, that dream, was that dream? No, it must have been like way earlier in February. It must have been like the 6th or the something like that. I'm going to look it up. But it was earlier in February that I had this dream about being in this condo. And it was a very nice condo. And it was like industrial, kind of like a loft. It was a loft. And it was kind of like a studio, but there was also rooms. So there was like a bed in the living room kind of kitchen area, but there's also 2 other bedrooms. And when I saw this dream when I saw this condo in the previous dream, I thought that it was for someone else. Okay, I thought it was for someone else. Now I went into this dream, and in this dream, it was like I had this epiphany, and I was like, this condo is not for that person. This condo is mine. And it was like someone had brought me back there to be like, you are thinking about this incorrectly, and someone was trying to like take advantage of the fact that you didn't know that this was your condo. That's a whole nother thing, because we're going to talk about manifestation, because I'm in the middle of a big manifestation right now, child. Okay. But it was like someone trying to take advantage of the fact that you don't know that this is your condo. And I'm going to get into that in a second. And so it was obvious, like they were like, no, this is your condo. And a lot of the condos, apartments, homes, and things like that we're showing you are mainly yours. They are not someone else's. Now, of course, you can also dream about other people's homes and things like that. But they were like, you're like kind of pushing everything except for your like place that you're staying in now, and you're pushing it to other people. But these are your places. These are places that you are going to be connected to at the very least. So if I'm not owning it, then I might be a co-owner or something like that. So anyways, so I was like, oh my gosh, this is my place. I thought it was this other person's place. Now, the interesting connection there is that this person is like a famous actor, and he associates himself to Anubis. And so with the King Corso, I was like, oh, okay. So maybe when I saw him in the first dream, this was also associating some type of Anubis kind of situation. And so in the first dream, I didn't know exactly where this place was or what it was. But by the time it came around in this dream, I went to go search for it. So I was like, okay, if it's my condo, then it's in Arizona. Now, when I had the dream about it at first, I didn't know where it was, because I was thinking in my head, I was like, are there industrial lofts in Arizona? Like if you come to Arizona, majority of the homes look the same. Even the apartments pretty much look the same. Tan, like a kind of faded orange, desert architecture. So, and because it was that person's, this famous actor, like, I thought it was his condo. I assumed like it was in California or something like that. Child, so I ended up looking up the place and I ended up finding it. It's called the Orpheum Lofts in Phoenix. Now, the crazy thing is, Ray and I definitely have this indirect kind of connection to Orpheus. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. But when I saw it was called Orpheum Lofts, I was like, whoa. That makes so much sense. But in general, you know, Orpheus is considered a person of music. And then he has to go to the underworld and he's going like to save his wife. And Hades says that he can take his wife out of the underworld if he doesn't look back at her until they leave the underworld. And so it's supposed to be like this kind of trust situation or something like that. Anyways, he fails the test. He looks back and then she's like trapped in the underworld. I don't know if it's forever or like 6 months out of the year, kind of like the Persephone kind of deal. I can't remember which one it is, but anyways, it's supposed to be like something like that, but he's connected to music. And so I was like, oh, this is very interesting. Now, then after that, the next one was I was in the void space again. Oh, and I wanted to go back and say like why I was talking about the bathroom and me using the bathroom is that I did not, in fact, urinate on myself when I woke up. Isn't that interesting? But I did use the bathroom in this space. That was profound to me. Do you understand what I'm saying? I used the bathroom in that space. And when I was sitting on the toilet, I know that's like a lot of information, but when I was sitting on the toilet though, I was thinking like, can I relieve myself right here? Because is this real? It was very real. But when I woke up, I had not urinated on myself and I didn't have the urge to use the bathroom. So it wasn't like a subconscious, conscious, whatever going on. Now, I personally think that sometimes we tap into the multiverse and we tap into dreams as stargates to other realities personally. But this was one of those things that I was like, yeah, definitely this was going on somewhere. And I was actually somewhere else for the night. Like no doubt in my mind, because I used the bathroom, I wiped, I flushed the toilet, everything. I heard the sound like it was as interactive as I am right now. And I woke up, everything was clean. I mean, it's actually really crazy. Everything was clean. So then, interestingly, after that, I ended up in the void space again. I think I'm going to have to turn on this car, baby, because it's hot, child. Oh, goodness gracious, 108 degrees, child. I'm a winter baby, honestly. My husband he's also technically a winter baby as well, which we didn't actually know that. He's a Pisces, so he was actually technically born in winter too. But he loves the sun. I mean, he is the Ray man. He's Raymond. And then my name, Deshandra, is like of Chandra, of the moon god. But I really think it's the goddess who's Shandi, which is Candy. That really took me out when I found out. I was like, no, there must be like a female goddess of the moon, which is also connected to Soma, the immortality drink of the moon, which is like the ambrosia, the immortality, these apples of immortality, blah, 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 blah. But I was like, there's got to be a moon goddess. Like there's a moon goddess. And her name was Shandi or Candy, child. And it was funny because one day I had this dream and that's like the song. It was something related to this. And the song that came on in my head was that old song. That old song, is that by Khalees? I taste just like candy. So dance with me. I taste just like candy. All right. Anyways, y'all. There's also some type, look, on a serious note, there's also some type of weird AF operation or something like that called Candyland. I have not been able to find a whole lot of information about it, so I don't know, like, if okay, the car started doing some weird type of thing, not the car being in opposition. I'm playing, girl. We still haven't given our vehicle a name yet. We've been trying to think of one for like 2 years. It's probably honestly a little bit ridiculous at this point. But anyways, Candy. Okay, anyways, let me get back to it, but I was just saying that, like, when I got the dream to move to Phoenix, like literally like Valley of the Sun, I was like, is there air condition out there? Like, you want me to move to the desert? Like, you want me to move to the desert? That's not what I had in mind, honestly. Like, Valley of the Sun? I don't know, but actually I love Arizona. I really do. I mean, in the summertime, like right now, it's like 109 degrees. It just went up a degree. And it can get up to like 117. I think I saw like one, I think maybe the year that we came here, it was like 121 degrees. Child. Never in my life did I think that like it would be Arizona or a super hot place. But really, if we become like snowbirds though, no, not snowbirds. No. That's the wrong term. Those are people that are coming here to get away from extreme cold. If we become summer birds somewhere else, okay, we got to become summer birds somewhere else. That's really what we need. Like, just like 3 months, like, to go live somewhere else for the summer and then come back. It would be absolutely perfect. Okay. Anyways, back to what I was saying, child. So I was in the boy space, and there was this guy, and there was this huge checkerboard, you know, like those checkerboard floors, black and white things, okay? And there are all these pieces on the board, and he and I were like hovering on opposite sides of the board, and we weren't necessarily like on the board. We were hovering above the board. And I don't think that we were on opposite sides. I don't think. I'm not really a or type of person anyway. I'm more of an and consciousness, okay? So even if it does seem like we're on opposite sides, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to be on the same side. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. We could have been on opposite sides. I don't know. But anyways, he was like, the boar. And that's what he kept saying, the boar. And I was like, yeah. Dakinis, boar face Dakini, Vajra Yogini, Varaha, the boar tusk, Medusa, yes. And he was like, you need your boar. And I was like, oh, because the boar is in the board. The boar is in the board. So how do you trump the board? Is to get you a boar. Okay. And so I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And it was almost like I forgot that I had access to this boar. And it was a black boar. Now, the interesting thing is that the boar actually showed up as a black bull first. And I was like, not that one right now. The other boar. So I don't know if boars and bulls were associated to each other at a point in time, like the name, right? Because sometimes the names mean something. Like, I think a goat means like a woolly animal. It's not specific to the goat, but we have over time associated goat with just this one. But technically, a lot of animals could be a goat. Do you know what I'm saying? So the name boar, right? Because also boar is also connected to bears, to bear something, but also like an actual bear, which they are not the same type of animal, right? So I was like, nope, not that one. And then it was like this flying pig, right? And isn't that the idiom, when pigs can fly? And of course, we have Medusa's son, who is the golden boar, Chrysaor, who actually does have wings and flies, right? So when the pigs fly, and that's supposed to be like, yeah, that'll happen, you know, whenever, you know, once in a blue moon, or, you know, whenever pigs fly, when the fat lady comes home to sing, blah, 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 blah. But actually, there are flying pigs. So And so I guess he was like, you need to like get in the game, because it was like there was stuff going on the board, but then there were players that were in the air hovering above the board influencing it. And in order for you to be in the game and influence what's going on the board, on the ground, you have to pick your, I don't know. It kind of reminded me kind of like in Hindu tradition where they have their, what do they call it? I'm saying a Vimana. I don't think it's a Vimana. But I think Vimanas are like spaceships or something. But, you know, like the deities, they have their animal that they ride. And for some reason right now, I cannot think of it right now what it's called. Let me just look it up. Animals that Hindu deities ride. What are they called? Vahanas. Okay, so very close to Vimana. So I guess it's still like a type of vehicle. Vahanas, which serve as their vehicles and symbolic representations. Like Durga rides a lion, Saraswati rides the swan, and so mine was the black boar, which is interesting because a lot of the time boars are associated to like ignorance or, you know, something like that. But I look at it as a way of like, how do I want to say it? Like ignorance is very, what word am I trying to say? Ignorance is very subjective, right? There's like ignorance that probably collectively we would call ignorant, right? People doing things that we consider to be foolish or not of value. But that's kind of like us looking at it from our perspective, because obviously it has some type of value or meaning to that person because they're doing it, right? But it's not like useful or smart depending on what we have going and what we think is valuable. And then, of course, sometimes wisdom sounds like ignorance. And I've had that many times where I'm talking to someone and, like, you can tell that, like, they don't think I know what I'm talking about, or they might find what I'm saying to be foolish or not of value to them. And then I'll be like, in my head, because I usually don't take it personal, I'm like, oh, okay, it's just going to take some time for this to kind of marinate. For this to kind of marinate and start to make sense. Because sometimes wisdom sounds like ignorance. Sometimes, like, even Ray was telling about this story of one time he was talking to this boy in high school. And Ray had found out from his mom that some people are allergic to scents and perfume. And he said that to this boy in high school because his boy was like spraying something on him. And he was like, you know, you shouldn't do that because what if I'm allergic to it? And the guy was like, this boy talking about you could be allergic to perfume. How dumb is that? Right? But it's actually, he's the one that's ignorant in this case because he doesn't actually know that. And it's not because he doesn't know that, but it's that he's so arrogant to think that something he's never researched or looked into, that just based on his current perspective, he thinks it's ignorant to say something like that, which actually makes him look like the more ignorant one, because he actually doesn't know if that's true or not. He's just basing it off of his experience in life, and I guess never seeing anyone allergic, just assumes that nobody is allergic, that that's not even a possibility. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's not the lack of information that makes him ignorant. The ignorant part is becoming belligerent when you haven't actually researched into anything and you have a very strong stance on something to make someone else to be the fool. That's the ignorant part. I feel like I want to make sure that we have a clear definition of what I'm considering to be ignorant here. It's not a lack of knowledge. Not that he didn't know, because there's a lot of things we don't know. But the ignorance is putting up a wall about something and not communicating or taking it into consideration when somebody has a very strong stance on it because of your, obviously in this case, limited experience that this could actually be a reality. That's the ignorance. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay. But then we also have Vimanas, which ancient astronaut theorists theorize are space vehicles, which I like ancient astronaut theorists. They never say no. When they ask ancient astronaut theorists, that theorists always say yes. The ancient astronaut theorists always say yes. Okay. Okay. And then the very last part of that after I got my bull, which I don't know if I actually looked that up. Actually, I don't know if I looked that up. If there was someone that rides a black bull. But anyways, I might look that up in a second. But the last part of it was after that, I saw myself with frog legs. Now, I've seen myself as like this kind of pixie-like being. I still look like myself, like the top half. But I have like frog legs, like flying around with wings. It's very interesting. Now, the first time I saw myself as this type of being was right before I got the Guatemala piece in my QHHT session with Operation Sophia. And it was like there's this kind of group of us, and we got like a ping to go to Earth and land in Guatemala because there was something going on with illegal drugs. Not gonna get too much into that, but it was like we got this call to go to Guatemala because something was going on, and we incarnated into bodies. Now, I don't know technically if I incarnate into a body in like a normal way or if I was like a walk-in to somebody's body. I don't know that for sure. But I do know that when I got the call, I was in this kind of pixie little human with wings and frog leg body, child. So I was seeing that, okay? So I was seeing myself as this version of myself with these frog legs, okay? And I saw that this was connected to the 13th or the 15th aspect of me. Now, I'm going to try to explain it as best as I can because I don't really know all of what it's talking about just yet. But this is what I saw. Okay, so there's a 13th and a 15th aspect of me. Okay, even in my first QHHT session, I was seeing different dimensional versions of me. So I saw the first dimensional version of me, the second, the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and I was capped at the sixth, which was an aspect of me trapped in King Tut's sarcophagus. That's a whole another situation. Okay. Since then, I've been able to get access to more than the sixth aspect, but I was capped for a while. So this is 13th and 15th, okay, aspect or dimensional or density, I'm not sure, but different dimensional reality versions of myself, soul stream throughout different dimensions, okay? So this pixie aspect is higher than 12th dimension for me. 13 and 15, 13 or 15, maybe both of them in some type of way, I don't know. But what I also found out or like remembered was that these aspects of you are in some type of way, I'm not sure exactly, in some type of way they are stored or accessible through your lumbars in your spine. And we talked about the spine earlier. In some type of way, they're connected into your lumbars. Now, the interesting thing is that when I was doing my pendulum reading yesterday, lumbar 7 was being highlighted. And then all of a sudden, AI is like, oh, there are no 7 lumbars. And they're like, but you're not alone in... Because I was like, tell me about lumbar 7 and metaphysical properties of it. And it was like, lumbar 7 doesn't actually exist, but I could tell you about 1 through 5. And I was like, I remember very clearly that there was at least 9 lumbars. And then that's when it came back and was like, could be the Mandela effect. Could be. It was like, you are not alone in remembering more lumbars than there actually are, though most people only remember about 6. I remember 9. I remember 9 lumbars. I remember that. I actually remember a friend who her brother was playing football and he had messed up, like, I don't know if it's a Mandela effect, but I feel like it is. I really feel like it is. I feel like there was like 9. I do. I feel like there was 9 of them. Anyways, lumbars have been coming up, but it was something about specific lumbars, and they hold access, we'll just say it like that, hold access to these other aspects of you. So it's almost like people who are able to shape shift or take on a different physical form in this reality, like in this reality, in some type of way, the code to those avatars to be able to shift your body into something else and have enough cells and space to contort everything is connected into your lumbars, into your spine in some type of way. Child, that's what I have right now, child, okay? Okay, let me look up this last thing. Okay, it's 107. Let me look up this last thing, and then I'm about to get on up out of here, child, okay? Okay. Okay, Black Boar Vahana. Let's see. Oh, of course. Varahi, of course. And I did mention that, of course. Varaha or Varahi. And Varahi is usually called Bhumi, his consort. And this is Vishnu, right? Yeah, Vishnu. Yeah, and there's actually, is it Varaha Tantra? Yeah, so Varahi is a Hindu goddess, one of the Spata Matrikas, the 7 mother goddesses, which is like the 7 sisters. Definitely go check out my 7 sisters in the Hoodoo tradition. Actually, 7 sisters came up yesterday too with someone I was doing a session with, and right before her session, I saw this Subaru car, and the Subaru had on the license plate Hermes, and then right next to it was a license plate that pulled up literally right beside it, and it had owl on it. And I had known from back in New Orleans, I did this meditation, and I was trying to like manifest our car in the future. And I saw, this is actually crazy when I think about it. So I was trying to manifest our car because we didn't have a car at that time. And so I was like, okay, let me just imagine the car. So when I imagined the car, it was like this kind of dark blue vehicle, like this dark blue SUV type of situation. And I went to the back of the car, and it was a Subaru. And what I heard in my mind is like, the car is going to be like this. It's not going to be a Subaru, but it's going to be like this. But Subaru is significant, okay? I kid you not, the car that we rented to leave New Orleans to actually come to Arizona looked almost exactly like this. And I think it was a Pathfinder? I think it might have been a Pathfinder or something like that. But they were like, it's not a Subaru, but Subaru is significant. So I looked up Subaru, and I remember that it was the Japanese word for the 7 sisters. Look, and then my Walmart order is supposed to be arriving at 114, and Orpheum Lofts is 114 Adams Street in Phoenix. Period. Okay? Period. So when I saw Subaru, and when I was going to talk to her with her session, I was like, Subaru is significant. And I was telling her that I know that Subaru is the Japanese word for the 7 sisters, the Pleiadians, which are usually considered to be doves, but I was telling her that like owls might be significant though. Pleiadians are doves, Pleiades are doves, which are these oracles. Okay, and the oracle archetype is very complex and complicated. Okay, but anyways, and she is often depicted with the head of a sow, which is a female pig. She's associated with strength. Protection, is considered a fierce warrior goddess. She's also seen as a manifestation of Parvati. Okay, depicted with a sow's head, holding weapons such as the discus, like the disc in your spine, which are your chakras, okay, your vortexes, and a sword. And she may be depicted standing or seated on a buffalo, a boar, or even a corpse. Ooh, depending on the tradition. Oh, and she's associated to Mars. Interesting. She is also a powerful protector of her devotees, warding off negative energies and obstacles. She is also seen as a commander and the chief in the army of the goddess Lalita Tripura Sundari. Okay, Lalita is super significant. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about today. Okay, I thought that would be really interesting. 1:11. I mean, the timing couldn't be even more perfect. And on the car clock, it's now 1:14. The car clock always changes. And probably for like a number of different reasons. But sometimes like it's like 10 minutes ahead. Sometimes it's 20 minutes ahead. Recently it was like 2 minutes behind, and now we're like 3 minutes ahead. It always changes, and I always think that that's interesting. So all right, my friends, that's what I have for you guys today. I hope that it is super interesting, and I hope you get a lot from it. And if you see any connections, definitely let me know in the description. Not in the description, child. You can send me an email, or you can comment down below. And I will be back with more stuff, more content, more awesome information soon. All right, my friends, bye. Oh, and my email is quantum, okay, QuantumAcacias@gmail.com. And my name is Dee Dee, Dee. All right, friends, bye.